Welcome to another episode from Inside Treasures. My name is Phoebus and I love to challenge myself and those around me for the purpose of growth. This podcast is about helping you to heal, to change, and to grow. By listening to this episode, you will discover about finding peace, inner stillness, and tranquility. In the previous episode, we talked about a habit that can change our lives. We talked about mindfulness and going within, noticing our breath, and what goes on within our thoughts and our emotions. We talked about why you should go over the trouble of meditating. We talked about the when, and we also talked about the how. In this episode, I'd like to continue it as a part 2 of mindfulness and talk about what we will discover while we start to practice mindfulness. But before I go into that, I'd like to cover one small question. How long should I meditate? Should I meditate for an hour, 30 minutes, 45 minutes? Actually, it's a lot less than that. We want to keep it practical. We want to keep it simple. We know we have a lot of things to do. And also, it's not the volume of time in one day that will bring you the progress. It's the consistency. It's better to meditate like every single day for a week for 5 or 10 minutes rather than to meditate one day out of the week for an hour. The results that you're going to get are going to be far better when you practice daily, because when we do something once, one day, we don't get the results. It's like we exercise once a week and then we expect the results of athletes. It's not going to happen. So back to the time. Choose a time frame, something that works for you. Now, look, I don't have enough time to play with this, but I want to get into it. 1 minute. 1 minute tends to be quite short. You have to be really dedicated to get into the zone. The one thing we want to do is shift gears and get into it. And you usually need more than a minute. If you've done it a lot of times, you can sort of squeeze it in a minute. But then again, you won't get as much benefit. 3 to 5 minutes tends to be a good starting point. If you want to go for 10 to 15, that's fine as well. You have more time if you want to play more with it. But again, first week, stick to 3 to 5 every single day. Aim for like 3 days in a row. Can I do 3 days in a row of sitting down in one place, focusing on my breathing? I can. Then aim for another 2. On the third day, aim for another 2. So now, I'm going to aim to have another 2 days in a row. Now we have 5 days. And then you can have 2 more days in a row as well. And then you got 7 days. Take it one step at a time. Take it slowly. How about breaks? The whole point of this is to enjoy it. It's not like to sit there and do it and done it, check it. It's to get in the process of being in the present moment. But some days we won't feel like it. If you have breaks that are scheduled, then it'll be easier for you. Now, the first week, try to go for the 7 days in a row. That will help you get into a momentum, build it up. And the 8th day, take a break. Another common question is, how do I know that the time is up? I know, it's a simple one. But let's just get all those excuses out of our minds. You can put a timer. Put your phone, put a timer, put an egg timer, whatever you want. Just choose one now in your mind and know that the next time that you sit to do this, you're going to put the timer on 3, 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever you want. And only when that thing rings, you're going to stop. Until it rings, you're just going to keep focusing on your breathing. You could have a clock, but usually a clock makes you look at it. And it's like, how much longer do we have? How much longer do I have? How much longer do I have? But I want you to remember that the meditation that I gave you last time, it's simple. It's very simple. It's about focusing on our breathing. We're not trying to make it complicated. We're keeping it simple. And also remember that we all have an internal clock within us that tells us roughly how long it's been. And if you follow this exercise, like even with the timer, when I started out, it was always a timer. Then you begin to become aware of how long it takes. Also, you might be practicing mindfulness and then you see like you can no longer concentrate. Your mind is drifting here and there. It's okay. Stop. Move on. Before you even start to meditate, what you will discover is that there's a rebel. Your ego. There's a rebel within you. You're going to say, I want to start meditating. Yeah, this sounds amazing. This sounds great. And I want to practice daily, but your ego will revolt. It will come forward. He will give you 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't do this. We all have to learn that we've taken the decision. Say thank you to that thought. But I've made my decision. And this is very important to me. Then sit, breathe, find that discipline in you. Do not fight, embrace it. Create a gap within you where you can revolt without having any tension. You can see your ego. Again, it's the same concept. You'll start to look within. You allow things to happen without passing any judgment. Yes, my love, I heard you. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to go and meditate. Let me be peace. You're already having conversations within your mind. We might as well make them useful towards us, because if we engage in that inner conversation, 90% of the times we're going to lose. We're losing against ourselves. Stop discussing it with yourself, whether you're going to have a mindful meditation or not. You're only staying at discussing it when you keep thinking of it and debating with yourself. Choose to act, find the time, and commit. When you start to think, just go and sit. You're becoming more present. You're becoming more aware. Oh, I'm drifting. It's like your mind is drifting. Your mind is drifting into a state of telling you, let's do that another time. Let's let it be. But what you want to do is bring your awareness back to you, back to your intention, back to where you started, and just go and sit where you would meditate. Oh, I only have 2 more minutes before I can meditate. Fine, you have 2 minutes. Oh, I have to do this job. Come back and just go to the place that you have. Build a physical momentum that will bring your mental and emotional state to a halt. The second wave of rebellion is while you're meditating. You're going to want to move. You're going to feel an itch. Learn to see it and acknowledge it. Say thank you, but now I'm focusing on my breathing. Sometimes you're going to give in and scratch. But play with that. Play with that game. See it as a game. It's just like, okay, I decided to sit down and all of a sudden I just want to move. All of a sudden I want to itch. All of a sudden I want to do all sorts of things. I heard you. Breathe in and keep continuing focusing on your breath. And like the wave, those itches, that desire to move will go away. Another common thing that we find is that your mind will drift. But I was trying to focus on my breath, and now where am I? I had a thought about this, then that thought brought me to another thing, and then I thought of something else. And now 10 steps later, I'm so far away to where I started. Do you get it? Breathe. Okay, I drifted. I'm focusing on my breath. It's the mind chatter. The mind chatter, it just keeps continuing this process of going from one thought to the other. See it as a game, see it as a challenge. When it happens, just tell yourself, it's okay, and come back to breathing. Focus back into your breath. An analogy that I like to think that I use in hypnosis as well is that of a glass that has like mud in it. And somehow all this sediment, we have a spoon and we're constantly stirring it and stirring it and stirring it. What all this that does is it lifts all up, all that sediment, all the mud, and it clouds the water. So this is how we are in general, because we're constantly thinking, mind chatter, feeling, and there's all this confusion going on internally that we're not even aware. Basically, we keep stirring and stirring and stirring. But another reason that I like to think of this is because, like the example I just mentioned, we drift. And then instead of just saying, oh, I drifted, or I just had this cookie again, or I made this mistake again, then we get like angry, we get frustrated, and we really even more start to stir the spoon more and more and more. And instead of just saying, oh, I've been stirring the spoon, I stop stirring the spoon and everything settles down. All the sediment settles down. We say, no, I need to stop. And why did I do this? So we keep stirring and stirring and stirring. Just leave the spoon alone. And all the mud, all this cloudness, all these thoughts, all this mind chatter, all these behaviors that they will settle down. So what are we working on? Why all these conversations about mindfulness and focusing on our breathing? Like, what's the point? The point is to build awareness. awareness in the present moment, both internal and external. But for me, most importantly, internal. Because like I said in a previous episode, when you have peace within, you see the world in a different way. When I explain the model, your lens stops being so distorted. You see more clearly. The point, like I said, is to build awareness in your internal world. To slowly build that competence of noticing your thoughts, emotions, and desires. And to find a way to slowly silence your mind. It won't happen every time. It won't happen throughout your whole meditation. But if you find that one moment, and I know that you can, when you find it, you'll be amazed. You'll think, wow, is that the kind of noise we live in? A couple of episodes ago, I talked about the 4-step model, and one of the fundamentals, the first step, was about awareness. Being aware in a non-judgmental way. Awareness is the first step to any change. If we're not aware of things, of what's going on, sometimes we have a feeling, we have a hint, sometimes we know, but a lot of times we're just completely unaware of what's going on. While you're meditating and you're becoming aware, you see something comes, rises up. Don't engage too much, but label it without judgment. What was that? Oh, I just had a thought. I thought about X. Breathe in. Oh, what happened? Oh, I just felt something. I felt anger. I felt happiness. I felt joy. Become aware of it. Label it without judgment. And then let it go and go back to your breathing. I'm breathing. Ooh, I should do the cooking later. Oh, and I need to take the kids to school. Ooh, what's going on? What am I feeling? What am I thinking right now? I'm thinking about something other than what I'm trying to do. Fine. I will remember that later. I breathe in, and as I breathe out, I let go and keep focusing on my breathing again. And then this will happen again and again and again. Take it as a game, take it as a challenge. In conclusion, now this episode has been quite playful, and there is a reason behind that, why it's been so playful. Because a lot of times when we're dealing with our own thoughts and emotions, like I said, we meet with the rebel, and instead of just having fun with it, we're starting to fight. And that fight is taking us backwards. Instead of empowering us, it's actually disempowering us. We're losing our own energy. We're losing our own battles with ourselves. Just let it be. Don't fight. Play with it. It's a game. When I was a little boy, I remember finding spider webs and then just noticing what will happen with those spider webs. At times there would be a fly or a bee or an ant. And what basically happened is, the minute something fell on the web, it tried to escape. And the more it tried to escape, the more it started to get tangled in the web. And also, this is how the spider knew that there was something on its spider web, because all of a sudden there was movement, there was motion. And spiders work a lot with vibration, and they know where those vibrations are coming from, and then they go there. And as the insect was getting tangled up, the spider was going, and then it would bite it, and then it would put it in its own web, a little cocoon. And that's what we do when we're fighting with things. When we're fighting with our own selves, every moment we rebel against the rebellion or whatever is coming out of us, every time we begin to fight, we begin to get ourselves tangled up. And the more we fight, the more we get tangled up, until we lose track of where we are and who we are. So allow yourself to rebel. You hear a rebellion, I don't want to do this, or you have an emotion, you have a thought. Your reaction to those things is what really controls our mood, what controls our emotions, what controls our thoughts. Those were instances. There was a blip in time. And then it's what follows that. it will go away like an urge, like a wave. It will come and it will go. Let it be. Okay, I saw that. Soften your grip. Soften your grip and see that you're starting to practice non-judgment outside of the space where you're practicing your mindfulness. And that's the important bit. First, we're learning to do it within a time frame of 5-10 minutes, but then it becomes a habit. Then it creeps into our life and becomes a way of living. Is it going to happen every time? No, we don't have to be perfect. The whole point is to build awareness. To build awareness of our emotions, of our thoughts, of how we behave, of the things that we say, of our rebellion against our own progress. To learn to observe internally and outwards. And why do we talk about being present? Because most of the time, we're everywhere but here and now. And as Eckhart Tolle said in The Power of Now, realize deeply that the present moment is all you have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. Please share this podcast with anyone you think may benefit. Until next time, let peace guide your life, love guide your heart, and reason guide your thoughts.